Good morning, everybody. First takeaway is crude is up about $6 to $8 a barrel here this morning. I guess the trade did not like Trump's comments last night. Mostly what I'm seeing is they didn't like what he didn't say more than what he actually said. So just a lot of volatility here. We had taken some of this away yesterday, the day before when he was talking about being done with this war in a couple weeks, and obviously they just didn't like any of the lack of details in an ending to this last night. So we'll see what that's like today. You know how this goes. It could be the next headline this morning that sends us into a tailspin. But outside markets are pretty jumpy overnight. With crude being up that much, you got gold down hard again. You got stocks down over 500 right now. So that's obviously going to have an impact in the short term. But let's just jump into the grains here. Yesterday, December corn, really ugly day, follow through after the report. And when they had time to digest that information, we did, a lot of what I talked about as far as resistance and support. We broke that swing low, but then found support on the 50-day, which sits at 476 today. We're up currently right now 3.5 and at 484 3/4, but have not been able to push above the 5-day yet, which sits at 485. The 10-day sits at 486. Those are going to be your initial resistance. You see that was kind of the stopping point for the market yesterday as well. If we can get through that, which I think is very possible, this has been a pretty quick little down move. We get through those. This trend line, the low 490s, is probably going to hold this market in the short term if we are going to continue this downtrend, which I believe that we will. I think that the timing of this makes sense. There's not a lot of bullish fundamental news. Again, the trade and the funds are going to have to go against that to push this up to higher prices right now in a time frame where we don't really have any weather problems. It's not a time where you get weather problems. We can worry about being dry all we want. It doesn't matter right now. It hasn't for the last 15 years. We can worry about wet all we want right now. That hasn't mattered either. So I would say the easiest path for this right now is down. The toughest argument is just how much length the funds have right now and how strongly they may want to defend that position. So that's going to be something interesting to watch. But in the short term, I would suggest that we are going to bounce this maybe for the next few days, maybe even this week, up into this area back towards this trend line, and then we will probably resume this downtrend into possibly April or even May. Would make a lot of sense based on what's happened historically. So resistance 5-day, 10-day, 485, 486, trend line low to mid, let's call it low 490s. And then this swing low from yesterday, 476, is going to be support. And then just watching the 50-day, which sits at that exact same level. Then you have these retracement levels down here from this whole move up. The 62% retracement being 465.5. So those are going to be kind of your first initial targets to the downside. Moving into soybeans, this is more interesting. Really has held in there. We've had some big wide ranges. Yesterday we tried to sell off but had an inside day. Didn't do anything, didn't break above the high, didn't break above the low, closed kind of at the open. Been messing around on these moving averages here, kind of using the 20-day, the blue one, as support. Haven't wanted to close below that. Did here, but then didn't get any follow through from it. So just really, stronger than you would expect. Almost like, it's possible that it's anticipating something a little more friendly, or, we're just, going sideways here until we can resume this downtrend, which is still the path that I have to be the most concerned with. So short term, if you do take this out at 1164, that's going to make things really interesting, especially if you close there. But this is still your perfect bar here for resistance and support. So 1164 to the upside is going to be your resistance. 1140 to the downside is going to be your support. Currently sitting up 5 and at 1160.5. A little bit of separation here, suggesting we could go up some more. So again, this is a tougher one right now, and I would say if you do close above this 1164 level, we're going to have to really consider, is there something that I'm missing here in the short term? Anyway, I think those are the best spots to watch for. You break through that, re-challenge the highs, possibly 1174.25. But good day for just sitting back watching some of the price action. Got to react to a little bit to what they do. But again, I think overall corn looks bearish, and especially if you take into account the information. And beans are, in my opinion, still bearish, but we just have to pay attention to where we want to close. So, all right, we will take a look and watch price action today. Everybody have a great day.